Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Breber, and alongside me, thank God, Logan Camden is back. I really thought yesterday there was a chance that we had lost you for good, Logan, but you're back. You're as bald and as beautiful as ever, and you're ready to talk some basketball. And we need your insights. We need you on this show, man. Me going solo, it's no good.
I'm chained back up to my radiator and I'm ready to go, man.
It
I'm
was a
ready to
terrible
go.
mistake to ever let you out. Terrible
I know.
mistake.
I don't know what they were thinking, man.
It will not happen again. But you came back, Logan, because you have what's known as Stockholm Syndrome. We're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to talk about the basketball. We had 2 games today. We're also going to talk about Wolves Warriors because we didn't get to that yesterday. But we have to start, Logan, with what has been the best series of the second round. Peak basketball so far. The Oklahoma City Thunder got a big old win to even their series up at 2 games apiece against the Denver Nuggets. This time, it's OKC who comes out with a clutch win after Denver had taken games 1 and 3 in the clutch. What was your biggest takeaway from OKC evening things up in this series?
I mean, shout out OKC for winning this game, but the Denver Nuggets can't win this series with the level that Nikola Jokic is currently at. I mean, this might be the worst stretch of basketball I can remember from Nikola Jokic. Like, this is some of the absolute worst I've ever seen Jokic play. If we take game 1 out of the equation here and we just look at Jokic's last 3 games, he's giving you 21, 12, and 5 with 5 turnovers a game on 33% from the field, 18% from deep, and under 44% true shooting. Carson, I've never seen Joker flustered like this. He looked unconfident in himself. He looked just flustered. And I think the 2 free throws that he misses at the end of the game really encapsulate that too. Like, he just looks rattled in a way I've never seen Joker rattle before. And I think it speaks to 2 things, those numbers that I mentioned. One, Oklahoma City really defends Joker at such a high level. I mean, and you have to give props to them for that. But like late into this, first of all, early in this game, Jokic doesn't want to go to the bucket in transition, is just passive, like putting on his brakes early and giving it off to Christian Brown or Russell Westbrook. Dude, the Thunder and the Nuggets combined for the lowest amount of first quarter points in playoff basketball history. So like, one, it was just an incredibly slow start from both of these teams, but Joker comes out the gates super passive. And then late in this game, Carson, he's one-on-one in single coverage getting to that little floater area, and he's either missing or he's passing out. Like, the Joker that I have come to know and love and expect is a guy that is going to, in the game's biggest moments, he's going to back you down to that spot. He's going to get to that shot. He didn't do that late in this game, and he has just consistently looked flustered, man. I don't know. I've never seen Joker like this, and this was a really pivotal game. Denver can't win this series. As good as the role players played, because I thought the defense was great. I love the energy and the consistent production that we're getting out of Aaron Gordon, Russell Westbrook, and Christian Brown, but the Nuggets can't get this thing done with the level that Jokic has been at, man. He has got to be better.
Yeah, he's got to be way, way better. Now, I would say that we cannot talk about his struggles without giving so much credit to this Oklahoma City defense, which is by far the best in the league, is in my opinion one of the greatest that we've seen in the history of this sport, and has defended him and Denver better than anybody else has. You asked me this the other day, and I said, well, I actually think that Jokic has run into the 2 defenses that are best equipped to give him trouble in these 2 playoff series. The Clippers have the best individual Jokic defender in Zubats, who can really limit his ability to cook one-on-one, but the Thunder defend him best as a collective team with their ability to pester him with doubles, their collective length, their insanely good hands, their physicality, their speed, rotating, disrupting interior passes, getting out to shooters. They have given the Nuggets offense fits in a way that nobody else has this entire season, and honestly, nobody else has in the Jokic reign in Denver. Like even the Minnesota Timberwolves of last year did not fluster Jokic in the Denver offense to this extent. In fact, Logan, 3 of the Nuggets' bottom 5 offensive performances this year by offensive rating when Jokic plays have come against the Thunder, man. It's just incredible what they have done. And this is easily the worst playoff series of Jokic's career, man. And that even includes before he was at an MVP level. We can go back to 2019. We can go back to 2020. He's played in 16 career playoff series. Here are where his numbers versus OKC rank among those series. 5.3 assists per game is 14th out of 16 series. 5.8 turnovers per game. He has a negative assist to turnover ratio. That is by far the most that he's ever averaged in a series. 39% from the field. Not just the worst he's ever posted in a series. He had never been below 48%. It's by far the worst that we've ever seen from him. 21% from 3, worst in his playoff career. 49% true shooting, worst. So in terms of his scoring efficiency, it's by far the worst we've ever seen him. In terms of his playmaking impact, it's by far the worst we've ever seen him. In terms of his ability to protect the basketball, it's by far the worst that we've ever seen him. And yeah, he has to wear that, and he has to be way better. And he almost cost the Nuggets game 3.
He has.
And he really did cost them this one.
I completely agree. And he has in the presser, man. It's weird. Not that Jokic is taking ownership of it. I really respect that Jokic recognizes how poorly he's been playing, but that's what I'm saying, man. Like, I think it's in the back of his mind. Like, Jokic knows he's not pulling his weight. He's not as great as he needs to be. And I don't know, man. Like, I think OKC's defense has gotten Jokic in his own head a little bit. Like, he is such a cerebral player, and he's so smart and he's so confident. But I don't feel that watching Jokic play in these last couple of games. Like, he seems like he's dealing with obviously a great OKC defense, but also trying to overcome doubting himself, man. Like, I don't think he knows just how to get himself back into gear, man. He really looks rattled.
But you have to give so much credit to the Thunder defense. Like, they have executed their scheme and their game plan against him to perfection. Exactly what they hoped to do was frustrate and fluster him with the physicality in the double teams and the active hands, force him into a bunch of turnovers, contest all of his looks in the paint really well, make every finish, every touch shot difficult where he's seeing extra bodies. And obviously, they just have great interior defenders, especially Chet. And force him into a position where he is not comfortable in the paint and he starts living on a more jump shot heavy and perimeter heavy offensive diet. And then he's just not as consistent there. And Logan, this was the story of the playoffs last year, where against the Timberwolves, he did so much at such a high level, but his jumper just wasn't there when he needed it most. In this series, I mean, it's been a totally different level of Jokic struggles all around, but relying on the jumper more when it hasn't been effective enough has been a big problem for him. And I do give so much credit to the OKC defense for everything they're doing to make him uncomfortable. But as you mentioned, like the touch and the shot making, and when the good looks are there, it's still not what it needs to be from Jokic. He has gone from averaging 1.21 points per jump shot in the regular season, just an insane, unbelievable jump shooting campaign, to 0.98 points per jump shot. That's a very average number, and it's obviously not close to what he was doing in the regular season. You even see it at the free throw line. I mean, this has been a thing throughout the playoffs, but he's only 74% from the line. That number normally for Jokic is consistently above 80%. And on those paint touch shots, where he is the best that we've ever seen, those little floaters, the hooks, everything in the paint outside the restricted area, he was 57% in the regular season. He is 46% in these playoffs, and that number is lower in this series. It's only 40%. The jump shooting numbers are significantly worse in this series. So it hurts even more for the Nuggets because this really felt like one that they had to get. Like, we've talked about this repeatedly. Winning all the clutch games is Denver's path. OKC can blow them out like they did in game 2. We've seen it multiple times between these two teams this season, including the regular season. Denver has to put themselves in a position where they're there and they're just hanging in there through 3 quarters. And then you get down to the last few minutes and you're the better team. This was a game where they had an opportunity to do that, and Jokic struggling like he did is what cost them and what made them unable to execute that. And again, so much credit to OKC's defense. Like, I cannot rave about them enough. But at the end of the day, this is a guy who I have called the best offensive player ever. And a big part of that equation is missing when the jumper is off like it is, but he is also just not attacking with the consistent aggression. He is not, in my opinion, being assertive enough in the paint. And when he is trying to be assertive, the Thunder are just doing a great job. So it's been an all-around brutal last 3 games for Jokic. The worst 3-game stretch we've seen from him in the playoffs ever. And up to this point, the worst series we've seen from him in the playoffs.
Yeah, and just to add on about this game specifically, nobody had a great offensive game in this one. This was like the rock fight of the playoffs. I truly could not believe my eyes in the first quarter. Like, it was
rock fight of the last 20 years. This is the lowest combined field goal percentage in a playoff game in 21 years.
That's a crazy stat. And it's just even so, it's that much crazier that Jokic and SGA are both considered the 2 best players on planet Earth, and watching their offenses stall out like this was staggering. But
I will say, we got to give Giannis his respect, because in a postseason where the other 2 guys who I've had as my top 3 players have really struggled, Giannis dominated, and it was a favorable matchup for him. Like, he absolutely destroys the Pacers, always has. And this has been like a really tough matchup for Jokic, but still, that doesn't make up for the massive difference that we've seen in their performance in these playoffs. So I will say, as much as I love Shai, I regret having him above Giannis when we did our player rankings. I think that we have seen some of the issues with his decision-making in the playoffs, but I thought he was good today. I'm just saying, like, Giannis is so unbelievable, and props to him for holding up in a postseason where so many other superstars have struggled.
Yeah, I don't feel any really differently about either of these guys in a big dramatic. The one thing I do want SGA to stop doing is just, look, bro, if you can't hit a 3, just stop shooting the step backs and the pull-up 3s, especially in crunch time too. But anyway, it really hurts to lose a game like this when I thought Denver played so elite on the defensive end. I thought their zone really gave Oklahoma City fits for a portion of the game. They're in that 3-2. For a portion of the game. We actually got a little bit of a box and one, and I thought that might have been the most effective. It was like a box and one with Jokic in the middle, and I really thought it worked well. And so I think OKC should go back to that. But to fluster this offense that way, to have off shooting nights from so many guys, you get a really bad J-Dub game as well. It felt like Denver had to capitalize, and you get a lot of great contributions too on the glass, and all these energy and extra effort plays from Aaron Gordon. From Brown, from Russell Westbrook, and you let it slip through your fingers. Like, I felt like this was the most important game in the series thus far, and I really thought Denver needed it. And somehow SGA was still the best player on the floor, man. Even though I didn't feel like he played his best game, he was the best player on the floor. And Jokic in this offense just didn't deliver in the clutch, man. I don't want to keep ragging on Denver, but all the things we've talked about, Jokic not trusting his shot, not being aggressive enough when you got to feel the moment and just get to your looks. But also, dude, some of this process late, what was up with that, like, second or third to last possession where, dude, they just waste like 15 to 20 seconds where I'm screaming at my TV, get a shot up.
Well, dude, I mean, that's just another spot where I have to give credit to the Oklahoma City defense. And, like, that's where I would put most of the credit in this game. I understand what you're saying about being frustrated with Denver.
1,000%. It goes both ways.
This was the ultimate rock fight. And I know everybody's going to look at this game and focus on how ugly the offense was, how bad the shooting was. And I get it, but I'll be damned if this was not one of the best collective defensive performance. And I'm talking about both teams I've seen. I thought they were both sensational defensively. So, like, if you go through those clutch sequences, the possession that you're talking about, they just blew up the Nuggets action. They were trying to get Jokic coming over top a screen. They had Jamal set a down screen for him. They switched Caruso onto him. Caruso blanketed Jokic, blew that up. And so then Aaron Gordon is just kind of dribbling around at the top of the key like, shit, what do I do? They switch Caruso onto him, and Caruso's clamping him. So, like, they took off 12 seconds of clock, and Caruso ends up kind of committing a silly foul that bails them out. But that's just the Oklahoma City defense doing special stuff, man. And I thought the couple possessions before that were the same thing. Like, if you go to their third to last real possession, counting the one that we were just talking about as the last possession, they switched. the Murray Jokic pick and roll, which I don't think that Denver was expecting. And Hartenstein was all over Jamal. I mean, he was doing a great job of staying with him in space. And then MPJ actually made a pretty smart cut, but OKC's defense smothered him off that cut. So he had to force up a really tough shot in the lane. Then the next possession for Denver, Jamal takes a really tough off balance fading three. So they just took away the Nuggets' ability to get any good looks out of their two-man game late in this one. And you can't overstate how hard that is to do. This is one of the best clutch offenses we've ever seen, just what Denver has been able to do over the last several years with Jamal and Jokic in the playoffs. Like, it is as reliable in action to get a good shot as any we've seen. That's why Denver still scares you so much in these fourth quarters. It was a huge part of their title run. It was a huge part of them consistently coming back against the Lakers. It was a huge part of them taking a 2-1 lead in this series, and the Thunder shut that offense down. It's incredible, dude. I mean, they hold Jokic to 7 of 22 shooting and 3 assists. They forced him into the worst playoff series of his life. They held Jamal to 5 of 15.
That's the one thing that I don't think. I think we have a tendency, and I'm using the royal we here, to really overreact to individual basketball games, like with superstars and, oh, Hallie's overrated, or Ant sucks, or Jokic sucks now, right? The one thing that really angered me about regular season discourse was the downplaying of Oklahoma City's historic defense, because I never felt like any of that was fake. Now, we talked about how some of the statistics may have been a little inflated, but just the collection of talent and what they put on tape, what they proved. Like, I felt Oklahoma City proved themselves, and I've always felt like that was their biggest strength in these playoffs. SGA, I did feel like deserved MVP, and I still feel that way. And I felt like he's one of the 3 best players on planet Earth. Take your pick. Those are true, but I always felt like their superpower and their best strength was this defense. And that has proven itself, I really think, in a big way in this series. And it's still the biggest reason why I have the most confidence in them winning the championship this season.
You can't overstate it, man. And I've said that so many times over. And by the way, I said that throughout the year as people would sort of hyperfixate on some of the OKC concerns that have been real in this series that I think I probably downplayed in the regular season, because I have been worried about the consistency of some of their shooters alongside Shai. I have been worried about their collective decision-making, like against the zone. Like, that has not been pretty. OKC's offense in several of these games, but they still got out a win in this one because the defense is that special. I do think it's the best defense that we've seen since the 04 Pistons. I legitimately believe that. It's the best perimeter defense I have ever seen. And you see how versatile they are in that they are still able to force the ultimate center, this 280-pound bowling ball, into the worst series of his life. Like, in every way, their rim protection, their speed on the perimeter, forcing turnovers. They are a dominant defensive team, and that's what got them through this one. I also thought throughout the game, they were able to force the exact sort of shots that they wanted Denver taking. Like, especially in the first quarter, man, it was a lot of Christian Brown, Russell Westbrook, and Peyton Watson threes. And that was a theme throughout this game. Those guys combined to go 4 of 20. Again, those are shots that OKC wants the Nuggets living off of, and it allows them to make life so hard on their stars and load up on them, especially Jokic, and devote extra attention to him. Also, MPJ just couldn't hit anything for the Nuggets in this one, but it's no coincidence, man, when you force a team into 3 of their 5 worst offensive performances of the year. That is what makes this team so special, but OKC's fourth quarter offense did come through. It was a slog through 3 quarters. But in that early fourth quarter, and it started even in the late third quarter, the very late third quarter, they started doing a much better job of moving the ball against the zone. And they finally had a couple dudes step up who were legitimately comfortable and confident knocking down threes off the catch. And those 2 guys were Cason Wallace and Aaron Wiggins, who I thought totally changed the dynamics of this game, especially compared to Lou Dort, who was having a disastrous shooting postseason.
I thought Caruso had a really good game too, man. And I would play... Bro, I would play Caruso maybe. Like, am I bugging for saying like 25 plus, man? I would have Caruso out there a lot, bro.
Bugging? Brother, he played 25 plus. Well, he should be starting. He should be playing way more than Dort.
That's what I'm saying. I think he should play. I'm saying moving forward in the series, I think he
Yes.
should be getting starter level burn because there's a lot of shit, man, that like Caruso's a great shooter. Everybody knows that. Caruso's a great defender. Everybody, dude, that one stop on Jamal Murray in transition was unreal. What a big
Yeah.
play. And I mean, he was making big play after big play in that stretch. He does so many little things that positioning, like little subtle stuff that you don't really pick up on screen setting.
Hmm.
He's such a good connector, and he doesn't need the ball in his hands at all to have an impact. It just so happens that he is an elite shooter and is capable in those other areas. But OKC's got guys, and I think they just need to figure out who the right guys are in each series. And I agree, man. If Dort's gonna be off like he was, and it wasn't even like regular off, like Dort was clanging,
And has been for the entire postseason.
I would be really okay calling audibles.
Oh, more than that, dude. I mean, I was going to save the Caruso glaze for later, but we can get to it now. I'm always down. I think he's the role player this planet has ever seen. Absolutely, he should be starting. And if he's not literally starting, because Dagnall, he's rigid with the literal starting lineup. I mean, we saw this even with Josh Giddey last year, right? He would not pull him from the starting lineup until I think games 5 and 6 against Dallas, even though he was obviously hurting them. Regardless of whether or not he makes that literal change, or even if he goes with Kaysen starting over Dort, Dort has started every game this year, so maybe he won't literally move off of him as a starter for continuity's sake or whatever. But if Caruso is not playing way more than Dort, and if he is not closing all of these games, that would be a mistake because he is a clearly better basketball player, and he has done every single thing at a higher level than Dort in these playoffs. You call Caruso an elite shooter, I am not comfortable with that, but he is shooting the basketball much better than Lou Dort is right now because Lou Dort is 25% from three in these playoffs. Caruso is consistently at least looking confident stepping into and making these shots when that's really hard for a lot of other guys to do. But it's so much more than that. I mean, he is the significantly more impactful all-around defender just because he is so insanely disruptive off ball and is a significantly better rim protector. I think he's the better transition defender, and he is like right there as an on-ball pest and screen navigator and all the things that Dort does at such a high level. So he's significantly more impactful defensively overall. He is a way better decision maker. He is a way better ball handler. He is a way better driver and finisher. He is clearly better in terms of transition offense. He's significantly better as a passer. Like, he's just a way more complete, versatile player. Whereas it's like Dort is a great on-ball defender, but if you are just going to have Jokic screen for Jamal every single possession, especially in the clutch, like, you can get Lou off of Jamal in that matchup, and then he's not going to be as impactful overall as Caruso is, where he is just going to blow shit up all over the court. And offensively, you can basically just funnel OKC's offense into open Lou Dort catch and shoot threes. And if he's missing those shots, which he's missing badly right now, he doesn't bring you anything else. Whereas Caruso can attack a closeout. He can make plays as a driver, scoring or passing. So I am 100% on that boat. And thank God that Dagnall went away from Lou Dort and that he went to Kaysen and Wiggins and Caruso, because if he hadn't, I don't know if Oklahoma City wins this game. Like, I thought that Lou Dort was costing them offensively that much, but he did go to the right guys and they did step up. And I do want to give Shai credit because, like you said, man, this game was hard as shit for everybody to score. Shai comes up with 9 big fourth quarter points. He had a couple of great downhill drives. He made a tough shot in isolation. He got to the line a couple times. He made a nice swing pass when he drew 2 to J-Dub, who quickly attacked the gap, and he got a nice bucket versus the zone. Like, he was a big reason that they were able to pull through late, and he was really phenomenal until the last 2 minutes when, like you said, I mean, he's just way too in love with the pull-up three right now in those clutch spots. He is shooting 23% from deep in these playoffs. Like, I understand he wants to get a shot up, but
I think he just needs to eliminate it from his diet right now, or take 1 or 2 a game. I mean, it's just, if it's not going in, why would you keep shooting it?
And especially, like, if your legs are a little bit shaky, if you're a little bit tight, that's the last shot that I want you
Exactly. It's late in the game, man. You're tired. Like, you've already exerted yourself. That's going to be the toughest shot to make. And it's literally, if we were to list every shot that SGA could make, it is the lowest shot on the totem. It's like literally the last one I want from Shai.
It is, and the reason I think he's going to it so much is because he just wants to be able to get a shot up in isolation, and he knows if he sets foot inside that three-point line, like, there's gonna be multiple defenders coming his way, but that's fine, man. I mean, you can get a shot for somebody else. Stop forcing what has been by far your most inefficient shot. That was frustrating. I honestly liked it more when he pump faked and then spun and stepped through and put up that, like, 18-footer. Yeah, it was kind of a weird shot. It was better than the step back threes that are contested over and over again. But that's really my only gripe with him in this game. Like, within the context, how hard it was for everybody to score, how great the defense was, and how aggressive the coverages that he was seeing were. Like, he was seeing two every single time he touched the ball, and he still gave you a decently efficient 15 in the first half and was still more efficient than everybody else and puts up 25 in this game. And I thought just really consistently made good decisions. Like, I thought that he was getting off the ball much more quickly. He was moving it against the zone when he's getting doubled, and his teammates just couldn't capitalize for a vast majority of this game. But it wasn't like game 3 where down the stretch, it's like, Shai, you're forcing bad shots. Like, you need to be more selfless. You need to do a better job of diagnosing what you're seeing and creating for teammates. He was doing that throughout this game. And it was just really rough to watch his teammates for a while. But they came through in the end, and he certainly wasn't perfect, but, like, he was by far the best player on the floor in this game. And that was huge for OKC.
It was, man. When nobody else can get it going, sometimes that's the difference. And I think we're in for some more really close games. I wouldn't be surprised if OKC got like one more blowout game versus Denver where they're shooting really hot. Denver has an off shooting night. Jokic is off. I'm still riding with OKC in 7. That was my prediction at the start of the series, and it really is this defense and why I believe in them, man. If you, like, again, the biggest thing, we said this last episode. We said this the last 2 episodes. Now it's going to be 3 when we've been talking about Nuggets Thunder. But if Jokic isn't going to be the best player on the floor, advantage OKC. Like, you can fill in any other variable in Denver's, and it's crazy. Because they have won 2 games in this series where Jokic has been less than the best player in the world and way lower than his standard.
I mean, game 1, he was incredible. In the fourth quarter, he was ridiculous. Game 3, he was bad.
I'm saying best player in the world, like Jokic level shit.
Yeah.
We've got
game 1. He had 18 points on like 90% true shooting in the fourth quarter. And he had 42, 22, and 6 or whatever. He wasn't perfect, but that was
we've gotten
great.
One game like that from Jokic, but we've gotten way more where he has played bad Jokic games. And if we're going to keep getting that, okay, I can confidently say I think Oklahoma City is going to win this series. So I think it's going to go the distance. Both of these teams are they're battling right now, man. This has been one of my favorite series ever. But if Jokic is going to keep staying, like, he doesn't look confident, man. That's a difference to me. I've never seen Jokic look like this. It's super concerning. He really is, man.
Jokic will play better. It's not possible for him to play worse than he has over these last 3 games. And, like, the shot making will just improve. But life isn't going to get meaningfully easier on him. OKC's intensity isn't going to let up. Their game plan isn't going to change. Like, they are going to continue to make life as hard on him every game as they can. And there will probably be a moment in a game where he rises above that and he does some crazy special shit like he did in the fourth quarter of game 1. But those stretches have been very few and far between in this series, because outside of that one quarter, and you can give him the entirety of game 1, like, it has been a whole lot of struggle for Jokic, and that is not fundamentally changing. And that's because of OKC's defense, man, and just how ridiculously disruptive they are. So I do think that they are absolutely the better team. I mean, they've dictated a majority of this series. That being said, I don't think I would be encouraged by how this series has gone if I'm OKC, because they have really struggled against the zone. Last 2 games, when Denver's gone to it a lot, OKC is just putting up about 0.8 points per possession. That's ugly. That's rough. And I said throughout the year, well, I think that you'd be right to test OKC's ability to beat a zone, but overall, they were actually a really good offense against zone. Now, when Dort looks totally uncomfortable taking open catch and shoot looks, or he's bricking them and he's taking more shots from deep than anybody else on your team, like, that's a huge problem. Chet Holmgren, love the guy to death. He does not look comfortable shooting those threes off the catch right now, and he's leaving a lot of them flat and short. So I would be a little worried about that. I do think that Shai's decision-making has been up and down in this series. It was good in this game, so that is encouraging. But again, the ability of some of his teammates to attack the zone was not super pretty in this game. It was really rough for a lot of it. So I would probably be like concerned about some of the offensive issues. At the same time, I would just feel even better about my defense somehow than I did coming in, and like it would just affirm how great they are. I do need more consistency out of Chet and J-Dub though, because Chet, like again, his offense is going to mostly come to him within the flow of the game, but he has to be able to knock down those looks off the catch. And J-Dub, who was just phenomenal in game 3, was atrocious offensively in this game. His defensive first quarter was just about the best defensive quarter I've seen from anybody in these playoffs. Probably only his buddy Alex Caruso could top it. I mean, he was wreaking havoc, but so many out of control drives, so many forced shots. And when J-Dub has been off, like he was in game 1 and like he was in this one, that's been the theme. It's been forcing some of those really tough shots in the lane. That's where I think he's got to let the game come to him a little bit more. And I think he's got to look to be a playmaker more, right? Try to collapse the defense to then make a read and find a teammate instead of just forcing the issue in the paint. So I do want to see those two be better. At the same time, I'm talking about how much credit we have to give to OKC's defense. We have to give so much credit to Denver's defense. And when they are defending like this, they are very clearly the second best team in the West, which is very funny, Logan, because like this is what I dreamt of for them all year, man. 90% of the year, I said, once Denver figures it out defensively, once they get serious on that side of the ball, they'll be the second best team in the West. And it just never happened in the regular season. And I started to really lose hope that it was going to happen, especially over like that last month. And then they fire Malone, and it just felt like the wheels were coming off. And instead, they rallied in such a big way, and they are playing maybe the best defense I've ever seen from them in these playoffs. Like it might be better than it was in the 2023 title run. Either way, it's absolutely at that level at least. And it's so impressive. They are locked in on the zone. They are shrinking the shit out of the floor. They are still consistently giving great closeouts. So like they are forcing a lot of these OKC shooters, especially in the first half, this was the case, to either shoot against good closeouts or put the ball on the floor. And then they're just having to deal with this zone again, where they're seeing a bunch of bodies. They're not going to get a clean drive into the paint. So now they have to diagnose it again. They have to make the read. They have to make a kick out pass. And then that teammate's going to draw a hard closeout. Like everybody around Shai was really uncomfortable against this defense, which is a problem for OKC's offense, but it also just speaks to how great Denver's defense has been and the fact that they haven't allowed anybody on OKC to be comfortable. And like, when Denver is defending like this, that's when they're a title contender. That's when they're a top 5 team in basketball. So it is impressive that OKC was able to pull this one out because Denver defensively is playing at a level that is so, so far above anything they did in the regular season.
Yeah. It's just not enough, man.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly not enough if Jokic is going to struggle like this. Like, I think OKC is better, and I think that they have way more margin.
The one area I do think they can be way better at, and this wasn't as big of an issue in this game, but late, the straight line drives, man. And there's just a few instances, even in the zone, it wasn't a lot in this game, but SGA got a few easy buckets. I felt like J-Dub had one where he got right to the hoop.
Well, J-Dub did have a great one, but that's because they basically had 2 on SGA, and he immediately attacked off the catch, and he was driving right into that gap. So that was a great take. I think the extent to which they have made life hard on OKC is outstanding. Like, considering what I thought they would be capable of defensively coming into these playoffs, there's not a critical word I could say about Denver's defense in this series outside of not trying basically in game 2.
I'm really impressed with Denver's defense, but I do think it's going to bounce back in OKC's favor. I think they're due for a better shooting game.
They have to be, right?
Yeah, right? Like, it has to balance itself out. So I'm impressed with Denver, but I kind of have a feeling that OKC is going to break through one of these next couple games.
I agree. And that's why I said, like, Denver has to get all of the clutch games to have a real chance to win this series. That's where they're going to win. So to lose one of those is so costly. And for OKC to win one of those, they have to feel really good about. And even though the offense was rough overall, to like be the team that pulls through and has the better process in the clutch and in the fourth quarter, I think they have to feel really good about. We do have a donation. Thank you very much from Clout. Did Aaron Wiggins save basketball? Absolutely. As he does every time he sets foot on the floor. Like, shout out to him, man.
They
I mean,
need
he
to
was
play
so
him,
big.
bro. They need to play him.
Absolutely. And I think that he and Kaysen and Caruso, they are the heroes of this game. We already talked about Caruso over Dort, but I just don't think you can hammer home enough how special OKC's depth is and how much they need to be willing to use it. Like, if Lou is going to shoot 25% from three, you have the depth to go away from him. And you have so many good options, and you should absolutely do so, especially Caruso, because he's just also a freakish defensive player. And Kaysen is a great defensive player. And if these guys are going to give you way more offensive value, just go with them, because Kaysen is also certainly a much more versatile offensive player in terms of his decision making as a passer. He's a good driver and finisher. So they should absolutely rely on those guys. If there's one other role player who I just want to shout out, it's Jay Will. I just think he's done a nice job on Jokic in his minutes. And I think that he's made some shots for them. And he's been impressive. They just have such a ridiculously good
I
team.
can't believe that Jokic didn't punish them more for running Jay Will, man. That seems like that would be the exploitable guy, but they haven't been able to do it. It's really surprising.
Yeah, I don't like it when they go Jay Will as the lone big, but when he's playing with Chet, then I do like it, because you can have a guy who's at least a pretty big body in Jay Will. I mean, he's undersized for a center, but he's thick. And then you have Chet still on the back line. So I think that that's been a good look for them. The other area in which they have really impressed me is their ability to dictate the glass in several of these games. Like, I talked about after game one, this one really showed us where these teams have advantages. Like, OKC is going to win consistently in transition. They're going to consistently win the turnover battle. Denver's going to win the battle on the glass. That hasn't been the case. OKC has just been so quick to the ball. Hartenstein and Chet have been really good on the boards, and they've been able to win that battle, which is significant because they're just generating a lot more chances. And it's crazy how poorly they've shot the ball from deep. What are they shooting from three in this series, Logan? I'm looking it up right
I'm
now.
going to say 25%.
They are shooting 32%, but that's all because of game two. Like, outside of that, I mean, it's been a lot of really rough shooting nights. Game one, they shot okay, but the last two games,
I mean,
it's
this is
been
the
really, really
best
rough.
three-point shooting team in basketball in the regular season by
Since
percentage.
January 1st. Since January 1st, they were tops of the league, and it definitely has not been the case in this series. And again, a lot of those guys don't really feel comfortable taking the shot. So you have to go with the guys who are comfortable taking the shots. This is a massive win for Oklahoma City, and it wasn't pretty. And like I said, I wouldn't feel better about the Thunder than I did coming into this series. Like, I think that their flaws have looked more significant than I thought coming into it. But I would also say, like, the only team who probably really feels encouraged right now with how the second round is going is the Indiana Pacers. I think Boston would be disappointed with their performance. Even like the Timberwolves being up 2-1. Did they feel good about how they've played with Steph out for all but 12 minutes of this series? Like, no, I wouldn't say so. And because of their special defensive foundation, I do believe in the Thunder so much. And it's a huge one, man. I mean, this feels like the game that swings the series. Game four, knowing that OKC has more of the ability to win one of these last few games convincingly, knowing how important the clutch games are and how shaky OKC had looked there and how good Denver had looked there. Like, that being reversed is so significant for so many reasons. So it's just a massive win for them. Enough on that game. We talked about that one for 40 minutes, but an MF had a lot to say. I absolutely love that series. And this was another epic installment. We're going to take a quick break. Then we are going to talk about the Pacers demolishing the Cavs after some quick words from DraftKings. The NBA 82 game grind is done, and now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time for all the high stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw dropping plays. I can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in games all the way through to the finals, now's the time to back your favorite players and teams as they chase glory.
All season long, DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props, and that doesn't stop now. Want to make your playoff experience even more intense? Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will they drop 30 points, 40, or more? It's your call. Ready to place your first bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, lock in your bets, and let's make this playoff run unforgettable.
Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code NERDS. That's code NERDS for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Last two games, OKC is shooting 25% from three, Logan. So even though obviously Denver also shot the ball very poorly from deep in this one, a lot of that was their questionable shooters taking a majority of the shots. And I think OKC should honestly feel solid about coming out of a 2-game stretch with one win when they shot the ball that poorly at the volume that they've been shooting it from three. Let's talk about a team that could not possibly have shot the ball better, Logan. The Pacers put up 80 points in the first half against Cleveland. They end up delivering only a 20-point win, which is just so insufficient for how completely dominant this game was, because it was a 41-point lead at the half. They take a commanding 3-1 lead in this series. What do you have to say about those Indiana Pacers?
This game it felt like over in the first half, man.
It sure was.
Cleveland just didn't bring it. I was stunned. Stunned, man. Indiana's defense, I didn't know also could reach this level. I thought this was going to be the biggest liability of any team remaining in the field. Maybe the Knicks defense I trust less. I don't know. I think it's pretty close between both of those teams, but I didn't think Indiana was capable at defending at this level, and I'm just surprised. I thought the zone kind of gave Cleveland fits, and obviously Cleveland isn't at full strength. I think that's important to mention just because Garland's dealing with the little injury, right? Sorry.
I was just going to say he ended up being the best player on the floor for them. It was in garbage time. He didn't do anything. But they have all their guys out there, except Donovan Mitchell then hurts his ankle in this game.
And he's out.
Yeah, I see what you're saying about them not being at 100%.
I think it's just
they have all their guys out there.
But also, Donnie didn't even come back in the second. It didn't matter. This game was
a 41-point game, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They 80-pieced him in the first half. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. 80 is ridiculous.
OKC did it a couple days ago, pal. OKC did in game 2. They had 87.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, dude, that was the most ever in a half.
Offenses these are the best offenses, and that's the people when I hate on the 3-ball, man. That's the magical thing that can happen when the 3-ball is going. Shout out Miles Turner.
And yet we've never seen better defense. And if I had to pick what's the theme of the playoffs, I would say I've been more impressed with the defense than the offense collectively.
Do you think it came down to experience, man? I don't get it. I don't know who to lay this blame at. If it lays at Kenny Atkinson's feet, Cleveland looked completely overwhelmed in this game, and I think they're done. I think this decided it. I think Cleveland's goose is cooked, man. I can't see Cleveland winning 3 straight games against this Indiana team.
Logan Camden is Mr. Negative today, man. He wants to start with where things went wrong for the Nuggets, where things went wrong for the Cavs. Truthfully, I thought that this was just a special half of basketball from Indiana. One of the best I've ever seen. And that's not to say that Cleveland did not also play very badly, but if I were to pick a side, what would I focus on first? It's Indiana. That being said, you, Mr. Negative, have chosen to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers and their issues, so we can start there. But at the same time, I think that their issues start with Indiana just being so insanely good defensively in this game. They were so sped up by the Pacers' ball pressure, and that just forced them into so many mistakes. Everything felt rushed for them. They had so many turnovers in the first half of this game. And then obviously, they could not keep up with the Pacers shooting because it was absolutely absurd. They just did not match Indiana's intensity or physicality in this game, and that is inexcusable. Like, you can have one of those games where you get smacked in the face and you just don't have a response if you're up 1-0 in a series. You can't have it when you're down 2-1. That's a backs against the wall kind of spot where you have to be the team that has more urgency. You have to be the team that is quicker to the 50-50 balls. That was not the case in this game. Indiana was the team who was playing harder, but they were also just the team that was playing better, man. And then I thought that the Cavs did start to really unravel late in the first half. DeAndre Hunter was abominably bad in the first half of this game, just in this game. I mean, he was terrible. And I don't think that that's a coincidence given the whole spat that he got into with Benedict Mathurin. Maybe it is a coincidence, but he made so many mental errors and so many bad decisions where he forced some shots that I really didn't like. He had a really bad turnover in this game, and he has 3 turnovers in his 16 minutes, in which he also goes 0 for 4 from the field. He made a number of mistakes defensively in the zone, like had a number of fouls, just really spacey, kind of dumb game from him. And he lost his composure. Max Strus had a tech as things were really spiraling. So if you want to play blame pie, man, I mean, I think it lays at the feet of just about everybody. I didn't think that there was anybody who was good for Cleveland in this game. Like, Garland puts up his numbers, but he was bad in the first half, and I think still clearly is bothered by the toe. He falls down multiple times again in this game. They called a foul on TJ McConnell when he basically didn't touch him because Garland just lost his balance because his balance has been out of whack because his toe is sprained. Like, he is the one who I do still think you see being affected by the injury. But I mean, at the end of the day, the Pacers were just way, 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 way better. And anything having to do with Garland's toe had very little to do with the 40-point differential at halftime. Donovan Mitchell was struggling to finish. He was settling more. And Jared Allen was struggling. I mean, he was fumbling passes. He didn't give you anything offensively. I thought that Mobley had difficulty creating it. The Pacers just do such a great job of extending their defense out and bringing that constant pressure where Mobley is comfortable handling for a 7-footer, but he's not comfortable handling against pressure 30 feet from the basket. He really is going to kind of shrink in that situation. And that's the spot that Indiana put him in repeatedly. And then their collective rebounding and their defense wasn't good enough. But I was really disappointed in the Cavs. I want to be clear. I was very disappointed, but I was more so just impressed by the Pacers.
Well, I mean, I thought they did a really good job of taking away the 2 shots that Cleveland wants to get to, right? Like attempts at the rim and from behind the arc. And that's what was weird. Out of the break, don't get me wrong, it's really hard overcoming a deficit like that at the half. You're not expecting ever to win a game like that, but the Cavs were done in the third quarter. They were completely deflated. You're talking about them fumbling passes, like kick-out passes to the mid-range, just guys not holding on to the ball, letting it go out of bounds. Like, just ugly and bad turnovers in a spot where it's like, it's gut check time. We got to bring it, man. And they didn't answer the call. But Indiana did such a good job, and that's one of their superpowers of, if they do get defensive stops, just getting out on the break and letting it fly. And their shooting, I thought, did a good job against the zone in this one. I thought the zone would be more effective against them. Indiana, that's what's special about this team, man. They are so talented offensively that if you're having an off defensive night, they can just bludgeon you in a way that other teams aren't capable of, because everybody on their roster can shoot. Everybody on their roster is going to play unselfishly and hunt the open shot. Everybody on their team can attack a closeout. There's just nothing that you can concede to Indiana. You know what I mean? Against certain teams, if it's OKC, all right, well, we're going to try to funnel Lou Dort threes. We want him hucking up shots because he's the weak point. There is no weak point in Indiana, right? Like, your weakest link is going to be a 35% shooter or a 37% shooter, right? Your weak link is still going to be able to get to the rim. That's why Indiana's special, and they're capable of doing this if you don't bring your A game, man. I'm super impressed. And I think, too, I thought we did see, not that this is the biggest thing, and I think sometimes people can blow this out of proportion. I do think playoff experience mattered, man. Like, Indiana seemed ready to go. They knew the stakes. They knew what they needed to bring tonight, and they brought it. Cleveland didn't.
They brought it. They're also just really damn good, dude. And I do think this is such a statement win for them above all else. you have to think about the journey of the Indiana Pacers this year and how incredible it really has been. They started the year 9-14, Logan. Hallie was struggling with the back issues. He was in a shooting slump. The whole team was really struggling accordingly. Since they broke out of that and since Hallie really got right, they are 44-15 when he plays. That is a 61 win pace for 3/4 of the season, and that includes the playoffs, 2 series of playoff basketball now almost. They have been playing at an elite level, a 60-win level for 3/4 of the season now. And I think this is a team that can win the title. Now, we actually talked about this after game 2. We had somebody ask, like, do you think the Pacers are capable of winning the title? And I said, if they get past the Cavs, I can't put them confidently below anybody other than Boston and OKC in terms of my rankings. Like, I like them as much as everybody else in the field. And now I just feel even better about them after a performance like this. But their offense is as great as it gets. And when you are comparing them to the top 2 contenders who I have had in those top spots end to end this entire year, OKC and Boston, I trust the Pacers offense a good bit more than those offenses, because with Boston, I have more questions about the decision making of their stars with what we've seen from Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They don't have as many layered actions. They don't have the sort of consistent ball movement that Indiana does. They don't have the consistent elite pace that Indiana plays with, where it's like, I know that they're always going to make the right decisions and get the right shots. Boston's offensive ceiling is stratospherically
But you like
high.
their identity better.
I just trust Indiana more on a game-to-game basis. Like, if you ask me who has the higher offensive ceiling, well, Indiana's offensive ceiling is really high. Boston's is still probably higher, though, because when Tatum and Brown are relentlessly attacking mismatches and getting whatever they want, and everybody around them can shoot a combined 53s and make 45% of them, well, shit, man, there's nothing that you can do about that. But the process is shakier. With OKC, the offensive process is shakier. We've seen that exactly in this series.
What I just like is they've got so many guys that are elite at one thing or the other, right? Like McConnell, when Haliburton's not out there, is an elite decision maker in short mid-range shooter. You know, if it's Nesmith on the wing, right? He's a great shooter. If it's Obi Toppin, he's an amazing lob threat. And when you can get him out in the open floor, it's like everybody does their job, fills their role, and does it at a high level. And the thing we were talking about with OKC, when one guy's not giving it to you, you've got a guy off the bench that you can turn to, right? That you trust a relative amount. If it's Nembhard, and I'm just using that with the guard rotation in general because he starts sometimes, right? But Hallie, Nembhard, McConnell, and they all buy in, and they're all on the same page. I think rhythm's a really good word to use, Carson. They always seem so in sync and connected.
They get great shots as consistently as any team in basketball, and they play together, and they play the right way, and they play efficient basketball.
And it doesn't really matter the specific lineup, right? You have so many different lineup combinations that you can go with, and they'll all kill you.
Absolutely. The offense is insane, but we've known that. I mean, that was the case last year. This was the number 2 regular season offense last year. They were the number 1 playoff offense last year. The reason that I think this is now a team that can win the title, and I didn't think that last year, even when they made the Eastern Conference Finals, is because their defensive improvement is that massive. And they've done that with really minimal personnel changes, which is so impressive. But it all starts with that ball pressure, man. It all starts with their ability to be so disruptive at the point of attack, to speed teams up, to extend their defense, to make ball handlers uncomfortable. Look at what they've done to Ty Jerome this entire series, and look at what they've done to the entire Cavs offense in this game. It's so impressive, and they are deep with good perimeter defenders. Nesmith, Nembhard, TJ McConnell. These are guys who hellaciously pressure the ball. And then Benedict Mathurin, he picks up, he defends, and he's a really good athlete. Tyrese Haliburton has been really good defensively in these playoffs. He is engaged as hell, and he's got the size and the length and the hands to make plays on that side of the ball. Everybody competes their ass off on the perimeter. That's where it starts. I also think Miles Turner has been excellent protecting the rim in these playoffs, and I think it's probably the best defense I've ever seen from him. And they have no weak points. There's nobody who you can go at who has clear physical limitations, who is not going to compete, who you can exploit. And like, that's a really significant thing to just be that solid defensively. They don't have the elite personnel that some other teams do. And that's why I still think their defense is certainly a notch down from the best of the best, but they're very solid all around. So when you have the offense that I trust probably the most out of the remaining field, like if they take care of business against the Cavs, I'm going to like their offense more than anybody else who advances to the conference finals. And their defense is as solid as it is. There's nobody who I look at and say the Pacers can't beat them. Would I pick them to beat Boston or OKC? Absolutely not. Would I be shocked? Like, can I not envision a world, though, where they do take Boston down in 7? Like, if Boston's offensive process is just a little sloppy and they're not shooting the ball super well, again, like, I would be surprised if that happened. Certainly, I do think that Boston has more margin because of their two-way greatness and all their shooting, et cetera, et cetera. But I can't say that I can't see a world in which that happens. I can't say that I can't see a world in which Indiana beats any team that is out there. Like, everybody is flawed. And that's what we're seeing from Boston. That's what we're seeing from OKC. That's what we've seen from the Cavs. And Indiana is the team that has really shown us that. So, like, again, I just want to apologize to the Indiana Pacers. And I called them the most underrated team in basketball like a month before the playoffs when we did that show with Hoop Venue. And I still significantly underrated them. And that really is just all about the defense and how much they've improved there, which I don't think I fully appreciated until the playoffs. Like, I knew that they were a better defense and we talked about that, but it's been so damn good in the postseason and it's a real difference maker. And their offense really makes them as dependable as it gets in the NBA. So, I mean, thank God I'm not somebody who like picked the Bucks to beat them or anything like that. And I've always been a Hallie truther, but still did not think that I would view them as a legitimate title contender. And now I think that you have to at least say that they have a chance.
They were my dark horse. Them and Minnesota were my dark horses coming into it. And yeah, I don't want to act like I was super high on them. Who do you think has the best chance to beat Boston? Do you like New York or Indiana?
Oh, I think Indiana is a significantly better basketball team.
I agree.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked either because I think the recipe is there. I think it would take a Tatum off series, Brown a little off as well. I think KP would have to be out and off, but it's like I wouldn't, like you said, dude, I think you said it well. I wouldn't be shocked. It wouldn't stun me. Indiana's very capable, and just the level that Boston's at is not instilling any faith in me that they're just going to mow through the playoffs like they did last year. I'd give Indiana a really good chance. And I think at minimum, if we get that, I think it probably goes 6, man. Like, this team ain't going down easy. I think they're going to apply some pressure to Boston.
Oh, absolutely. It's at least going 6. Like, Indiana's offensive floor is so damn high, and Boston's offensive floor right now doesn't feel very high. Like, I am confident that Boston is going to come back and beat New York because I don't think that New York is going to continue to produce the defensive results they did in the first 2 games. They did a great job. Boston also melted down in a freakish kind of way and shot the ball so horribly. In like game 3, you saw a big reversal of that. And I think that they've corrected things and they're just the much better team. When it comes to Indiana, though, I think that they can consistently produce elite offensive results against Boston in a way that New York cannot. Because while Boston can really key in on a Jalen Brunson and can exploit some of their offensive weak points like a Mitchell Robinson or like a Josh Hart and basically ignore those guys, there's nobody who you can do that to on the Pacers. They're such a collective effort and they're just a much more difficult offense to guard in totality because of that. And they're a really solid defense. Like, I still think it's going to be hard for them to slow Boston down consistently. Boston, to some extent, kind of has to slow themselves down when they're off. But they're going to fight, and they are not going to have dudes who you can just look at and say, oh, he's food. I'm going to go at him over and over again. So I just want to hammer home how great Indiana is. You're talking about a huge sample size of them playing fantastic basketball, and they have to get credit for that. Specifically in this game, props to Pascal Siakam on like probably one of the best shot-making performances in a half that you'll ever see in your life. I mean, he was just cooking, attacking Max Strus out of the post early, punishing some mismatches there, but then he also just like started raining threes and contested middies as the half went along. Miles Turner, similar thing. I thought that he got to some really good looks early, but then also he's just raining threes. Like, their collective ball movement was incredible. They created a bunch of good shots. They were consistently getting good looks from the corner against the zone. Like, they had a totally different level of composure and efficiency against the zone. They were so, so good in terms of their ability to create the shots they wanted. At the same time, whenever they had to take a tough shot, they made it, and they made it over and over again. And whenever they had an open shot, they made it to an absurd degree. Like, they were 12 of 18 from three in the first half. So just a sparkling two-way performance, man. I mean, they put up 80 points in the first half, and I think there's a strong argument to be made that they were better defensively, at least as good. Like, I would say I was more impressed by the defense, at least, because the offense was phenomenal. But some of the shot-making stuff, you're like, okay, yeah, you're a good shooter. How consistently are you making that shot? Whereas defense, it was like every single possession, they were preventing the Cavs from getting a rhythm. They were making life hard on them. And I think in that sense, that impressed me more from the first half. But I mean, they get A-pluses on both sides of the ball.
Do you want to address the elephant in the room? Do you think the Cavs are
The 2015 Hawks?
No. We already did that one.
I mean, look, man, conversations change when you're down 40 and a half and you are healthy.
Not the chill, bro.
I'm not saying
I think overrated.
Hawks, but I
think
understand
overrated is a good question to ask. I do think that is a pressing question.
I don't really think so, man. I think that this has a lot more to do with the Pacers being sick and everybody underrating the Pacers. I think that includes us, even as we were saying, this is the most underrated team in basketball. Like, I was still, again, significantly underrating them. So that's what it's more about to me. The Pacers just putting together a phenomenal game and a really impressive series. And like, obviously, they beat the Cavs with all their guys out there in this game. But in game one, there was no Garland. In game two, the Pacers eked out a win where there was no Garland or Mobley or Hunter. So I do think that context is important. This is a really ugly game for the Cavs. Very, very ugly. But it's not enough for me to say they're overrated, especially because, like, I always viewed them as a clear third team to OKC and Boston. End to end this year, I said, yeah, I think if they belong in conversations with those teams more than anybody else, absolutely. I thought that they were a clear third team better than the field. I also thought that because of some of their defensive vulnerabilities, I couldn't put them at the same level as OKC and Boston. So, no, I don't feel like they should be looked down upon and like written off.
I agree. They definitely have under-delivered, but I don't think they're overrated by any means.
I mean, it's hard, and I understand if people are like, well, how can you say that when they just got blown out? It's like, this is the only game when they've got blown out while actually having their dues. I mean, they took care of business in game three. Games 1 and 2, they didn't have their guys. And like, I know that Pacers fans get upset when people talk about injuries against them. I want to be clear. I think the Pacers are phenomenal and absolutely deserving of going to the Eastern Conference Finals if they get things done. I want to be as positive about them as possible, but I also want to be fair to the Cavs and not be overly negative and say this was a horrible performance, but it feels worse because of the context that they were put in part because of key injuries to key players. Now, obviously, they also choked away game two, but they choked away game two down 3 of their 5 best players.
They also had an insane amount of regular season success. That is the other area that I want to hit on, though, is the fact that they did waste that Donovan Mitchell game, and
yeah,
we knew it was going to come back to bite them. I didn't think it was going to be like this. You know, I thought it would maybe they'd go down with more of a fight than this, but we knew it was going to come back to get them, and it ultimately does, man. You can't waste a game like that because it. Again, man, that basketball pendulum, we knew Donovan was going to be due for a game like this as well. You know, again, maybe not to this extent, but Donovan can't give you 40 and 8 every night.
No, he
can't. You
got
to capitalize on those games.
He can't, but I was drinking the D-Mitch Kool-Aid after the last 2 games. I mean, I thought he was going to be able to get what he wanted at the rim. How could you not be? Yeah, no, I definitely was not expecting a Donovan Mitchell clunker. And like, listen, man, I said after game 3 that I viewed the Cavs as slight favorites to come back and win the series. I said, absolutely, Indiana can win the series, but I felt really good about the Cavs. So are they overrated? I'm going to say definitely not by as much as a lot of people want you to think right now. And I'm going to say Let's see how they respond, because they're not done yet. I mean, do you think the series is over? Like, do you think the Cavs are dead?
I just don't think they can win 3 in a row.
I can't say that they're dead. I think that they're too good to call them dead. I still think the Cavs are a great basketball team. I do think that they are a special offense. Now, obviously, if Donovan Mitchell can't play because of this ankle thing, well, then, okay, yeah, then they're dead. I mean, I guess we'll have to see what the injury status is, and I still don't think that Garland looks right out there. But if Mitchell is able to play and he's reasonably healthy, like, I think that they at least get game 5. And the only way this series is over is if Indiana broke their will. We know how long the odds are coming back from 3-1 down, but I can't say that they're incapable of that with how great their offense is. It's certainly unlikely, but I can't say that it's impossible until we see what's going on with Donovan Mitchell. And listen, if they come out flat in game 5, well, then that's embarrassing. And then that means that their spirit was broken, and there's no excusing that. You can't go out there and get dogged in back-to-back do or die games. And this one already, like, it's inexcusable. It's inexcusable for the Cavs. But within the context of the series, compared to what we saw from them this entire year, like, I think you do have to acknowledge what they were going through in the first 2 games and the spot that put them in. But if they are to come back from 3-1 down, they need great Donovan Mitchell again. They need great Darius Garland. They need great collective three-point shooting, which they just have not gotten in this series. Ironically, this ends up being their best three-point shooting game when all is said and done. And really, the biggest thing, maybe, I mean, those star performances are huge, but they need to be the ones setting the tone on the boards and on the defensive end.
100%.
That's what happened in game 3. Like, lots of great offensive stuff. They dominated the offensive glass, and they fucking brought it defensively. This game, it was a complete reversal. Indiana set the tone defensively. They were the ones dictating the glass, which really shouldn't be the case. The Cavs should be able to dictate the glass more. I think that they could go to their double big. Looks more like, maybe you can be critical of Kenny Atkinson there, just in terms of the fact that he is never fully leaned into just playing his best players outside of Donovan Mitchell a ton. But again, everything is weird with this series because now we're talking about like 2 games. This has been a 2-game series where the Cavs have actually had all of their 4 best players available. So it makes some of the analysis a little bit weirder. But the path back is very long for Cleveland, especially with how good Indiana is. And if Mitchell and Garland are both going to be hampered, then I do think that it's probably over. But I won't write them off until I know that Donovan Mitchell is not 100%, because that man is capable of special stuff. This offense is capable of special stuff. This defense can be really damn good. This was just a terrible performance by them and an incredible performance by Indiana.
I don't think they're coming back from this. It's a lot to ask for me. Like, and also I think another thing that you got to mention too is, I mean, like, literally Indiana has completely made Ty Jerome one of the best bench players in the league like a non-factor. It's like,
for sure,
when, you know, I mean, like, he wasn't the biggest component to like them having an elite offense, right? But it was a component, the fact that he could generate really great looks for you with Garland or Mitchell off the floor. He's a non-factor. DeAndre Hunter, I mean, I'm not picking on UVA Cavs specifically, but they were both bad and have been bad in this series, and Dre was really bad in this game too. Like, you know, that was a strength of this Cavs team, is their depth. And if those guys are going to play below their means and you're not going to get all your juice out of your stars, it's like, I just think it's, and you're down 3-1 already. I do think it's too much of an uphill battle to climb back from.
I see what you're saying. What I would also say is, like, after game 3, I was looking at the Cavs and I was like, this is exactly what I wanted to see out of them, with the exception of Garland. And I know that they're capable of that. So, like, yeah, I totally agree. It's unlikely that they summon it in 3 consecutive games and they check all the boxes they need. I can't say it's impossible. I won't say it's impossible. Let's see. It's really, really hard. That's for sure. But I can't say it's impossible. But again, you got to consider, man, so much credit has to be given to the Pacers. They have been an elite basketball team for a vast majority of the year, and they're showing everybody exactly why. We have a generous donation from Bleron9. Pacers' depth also limits injury, unlike other teams. It's true. It's a fair point. They can play 10 quality basketball players. They've got ridiculous depth. Cavs also have great depth, though. And they didn't really overtax their stars with minutes. They all just ended up getting hurt anyways. But, I mean, that's absolutely something that makes the Pacers so special. What Mathurin can give you, what TJ McConnell can give you off the bench, what Obi can give you off the bench, Jarris Walker defensively, just a ton of good basketball players. And everybody in their starting five does their job at a high level. We have a chat that pertains to the Timberwolves-Warriors game, so we'll get to that now. Kaylee says, shout out Julius Randle, parentheses, never thought I'd say that. Logan, shout out Julius Randle. I mean, he is a big component of the Timberwolves taking a 2-1 lead in a game that was maybe a little bit closer than what they signed up for in Steph Curry's absence. What did you take away from their Game 3 performance?
I mean, not a whole lot. Shout out Julius Randle. Shout out Anthony Edwards. Shout out Jaden McDaniels. I mean, look, if you're going to get good offensive games from Randle and McDaniels, Randall McDaniel mentioned. Shout out Randall McDaniel.
Shout out.
Look, if you're going to get great games and good shooting nights from those guys, I'm confident in Minnesota, man. Like, Ant is normally really consistent, and I trust him to get his looks. He's been really off just finishing at the rack, which has been really strange. We talked about that a lot, too. But if Randall and McDaniels are going to pull their weight, it takes a lot of pressure off of Ant and the rest of this team to do a lot, and then they can lock up defensively. To me, those guys are really big question marks, but their ceiling game to game is really high. I do want to give a ton of credit to Randall, though. I never thought I'd be saying that either, but he has played excellent basketball in these playoffs. Situationally, he's been excellent. He's been great as a decision maker, and he hasn't been forcing the issue, which is always the biggest Randall thing. Also, shout out Jimmy Buckets and especially Kuminga, man. Kuminga 30 piece was not on my 2025 NBA playoffs bingo card. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I think that you have to give a lot of credit to the Warriors for making this game as close as they did. I do want to give credit to Randall, though, because I do think that he's been the most impressive Timberwolves player in these playoffs. And I mean that relative to my expectations for them. I thought that he was really, really good in this one. I thought that, especially in the second half, he was just very composed, doing the same stuff that he was doing in Game 2, where he's attacking, where he has an advantage out of the post in isolation. He's drawing the defense in. He's making the kick out pass. I mean, is that 12 assists for him in back-to-back games? Like, he has just been diming and really dissecting the defense. First half, I thought he was forcing it against Dre one-on-one a little too much, where I don't like that as much. But when he has anybody else on him, he has an advantage physically, and he's made the most of it. And Ant, it was a rough first half. I mean, it was a really rough first half for the whole Timberwolves offense. They had 40 points. But then he did a really nice job of getting downhill. He found the three ball more, which was also big because that had been really off for him for several games. But it's been interesting to watch him attack this Warriors defense that seems more concerned with his shooting threat than his downhill threat. And I thought that he was able to get those driving angles, get good looks at the rim, and then obviously actually finish them in the second half of this game at a level that we hadn't seen from him in the first couple games of this series. So I did come away from this one impressed by both of the Timberwolves stars in the second half. That being said, still a little closer than I think they probably would have liked to see. And I did think in the first half, the Warriors defense was able to still give them some real trouble, and they still forced them into 18 turnovers in this game. Like, I haven't been impressed by the Timberwolves offense in this series. I'll say that. I think that Randall and Ant have been pretty good in games 2 and 3, but they were also really, really bad in game 1. Now, this Warriors defense is also really good. And I mean, they were the number 1 defense in basketball after the Jimmy Butler trade, but I do feel a little more concerned about the Timberwolves offense than I did coming into this series. I feel more similar to the Timberwolves offense now as I did like going into the playoffs when I was a little more concerned about it. On the Warriors side, it's the best Jimmy game of the series by far, just way more aggressive than he has been previously, going at Dante DiVincenzo, using his strength, going at Naz Reid, using his quickness, playing very downhill. Wasn't great finishing at the rim, but like, that's okay. He was attacking. That's the most important thing. He was getting solid looks at the rim, knocked down a couple threes. Like, you're really not going to get much better out of him than 33, 7, and 7, like he gave you in this one. I will say though, down the stretch, still too passive. Like, last 8 minutes of this game, 0 points on 0 for 4 shooting with 1 turnover. I get it. It's a high bar if you're saying, I need you to give me more than 33, 7, and 7, especially considering that in the first 2 games of this series, it didn't really look like he had the juice to give you that. Like, I was really worried about his explosiveness with the glute, and he was just being more passive and wasn't really producing at the level they needed from him whatsoever. This game was a big improvement, but still down the stretch, like they just needed him to be Superman and they needed him to be Batman, to use his terminology. And he was not capable of doing that. And then, like, they were running their clutch offense more through Kuminga, who was great in this game. But when I have Jimmy Butler on the floor, I don't want my clutch offense running through Jonathan Kuminga in the half court where he's isolating and he's settling for like these mid-range jumpers and turnarounds. That was not good. Overall, though, I mean, I think the theme of this game, the takeaway is just that the Warriors' offensive supporting cast is not good enough. Brandon Podziemski has really struggled in this series, has struggled to put together any sort of consistency in these playoffs offensively, but really does not look comfortable in his shot. Moses Moody basically has fallen out of the rotation again and has looked uncomfortable with his shot. The one dude who really has stepped up consistently has been Buddy Hield, and then Jonathan Kuminga was great in this game.
What did you think about Dre in this game?
I thought that Dre was a little too careless with the basketball. I thought that he was struggling offensively, and then I didn't like how he fouled out. I really didn't like it. That looked like a pretty clean block to me. So I did not like that.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's got to be better.
He does. It really sucks when you're down, Steph, that like you just gotta Dre's got to be better, especially just protecting the rock, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think defensively, I've been impressed by him, and I've been impressed by the whole Warriors team. I think they've been quite good overall.
I'll ask you to follow up again. My answer has not changed. Do you think the Warriors make it to 6?
No, I don't think that they do. I do want to give credit to the guy who gave them a chance to steal one in this one alongside Jimmy Butler. I do want to talk about the Jonathan Kuminga experience because I've seen a lot of discourse after this performance talking about Kuminga, and I think it's an interesting topic. So I first want to give credit to where he was great in this game, which was in a lot of areas. I thought that he was phenomenal attacking in transition. I thought that you really felt his unique ability to pressure the rim on this team, just being by far the best athlete out there, was valuable. I thought that for the second straight game, he was really good as a cutter. And then for the second straight game, he was also really good as a jump shooter. I mean, in game 2, you saw him working from the mid-range. In this one, he knocks down 3 triples. Now, a couple of them are at the very, very end of this game, but like, he is feeling it offensively right now, and he has a level of juice and ability to create a shot for himself that this team really, really needs when Steph is not out there. That's why I want to explain how I think it makes perfect sense for Kuminga to be out of the rotation when Steph is available, like Kuminga has been throughout these playoffs, and why I also think it makes perfect sense for him to be playing as much as he is right now, and why I think he's really important to the Warriors when Steph Curry is out, because I'm seeing a lot of people who are like, okay, Kuminga's playing this well. What the hell? Why was he not in the rotation? Why is he not consistently getting 20 minutes a night for this team or whatever? And the reason for that is when Steph and Jimmy Butler are out there, you got to think about what the Warriors need. What the Warriors need alongside them are shooters, good decision makers, consistently engaged defenders, smart off-ball movers, because they have the high-end offensive shot creation that they need. What they need are guys who are going to complement them and fill in all the gaps and do all of the good role player stuff. Jonathan Kuminga is usually none of those things that I just mentioned. He's a bad decision maker. He's a bad passer. He has bad feel offensively. He's a bad shooter, 30% from deep. He's a very spacey defender. So he is somebody who is not good at filling those specific holes that the Warriors need when they are at full strength. And he has had many chances to prove otherwise. He has had 4 years to develop and prove otherwise, during which he has consistently been given minutes. In fact, even after he came back from his injury in the home stretch of this season, up until the Clippers game, the last game of the regular season, when the Warriors were in like a full-on playoff environment, Jonathan Kuminga was playing 21 minutes per game. So he had many chances to show that he could slot into that role effectively, and he was consistently bad. He wasn't doing any of the things that they needed from him in terms of what I was talking about with shooting, with smart cutting, with good decision making, good passing feel, consistent defensive effort, etc. Now it's a different game. Now it's a different roster because Steph is out and they just need an infusion of talent and offensive creation wherever they can get it. And Kuminga, at his best, brings that. He's aggressive. He can get downhill. He's a top 10 raw athlete in the sport, like truly a freak raw athlete. And that's when he's shined. Like even earlier in the year, he had a phenomenal game against the Rockets and led them to a win when they were down Steph. Like when Steph is out, Kuminga averages almost 20 points per game because he has the opportunity to step into more of a role that suits him. His ceiling for a player of his level is really high because he's an extremely gifted basketball player in some ways, but he's an extremely limited basketball player in other ways. And when Steph and Jimmy are out there, his significant limitations and the low floor that comes from those is more significant than the high ceiling that he can give you when he is in a position that is best suited for him. So that's my take on that. That's why I think it makes sense that he shouldn't play when this team is at full strength and that he is very valuable for them right now. And that's why, like, I just think he needs to be on a different team for a number of reasons. I think he needs to be on a different team because I think individually he could shine more. And the Warriors do not get the most potential out of him because he's not in the right spot, basically, to do what he does best. And we'll see what he can develop into elsewhere, but it's going to be elsewhere that he has the opportunity to do it, really.
Yeah, that was a good synopsis, and I agree with most everything what you said, but like you don't even see an opportunity for him to play in like non-Steph minutes or something like that, like where, all right, well, we don't have our offensive number one out there. Maybe he can give us a little bit of a pop. Do you think that has to do more with the fact that he needs rhythm? Like he needs to get going beforehand, or like how do you feel about that?
The tough thing is non-Steph minutes when he is healthy. Those are the Jimmy minutes. That's when Jimmy runs the show.
Well, like
in the regular season, Kuminga and Jimmy lineups were really, really bad. And in the playoffs, offensively, I still think that they have like a negative 11 relative offensive rating in those minutes.
If you could get Kuminga, I thought he did a really good job attacking closeouts and against slower-footed defenders. I think that if you could get him, you know, I don't know exactly what the lineup looks like, but like a small ball 5 maybe lineup with like, that's the shooting sucks. That's the only thing that sucks about that.
That's the biggest problem. That's the hardest thing about playing Jimmy and Kuminga together. What I would say is like the last couple games, I've been impressed not just by like him catching fire as a jump shooter or whatever. Like his cutting's been really good, and that's something that has not consistently been good for Kuminga whatsoever. So when he's doing that, I mean, that's where he brings his most value offensively. But I still think that fundamentally this team needs shooting most because we know what teams are going to try to do, and they're going to try to force everybody other than Steph to beat them as shooters. And Kuminga's shooting well right now, but that's not reliable. So like, I want to give him his credit, but I also want to like make sure we keep the discourse realistic because there are a lot of people who I presume are not Warriors fans who have not been through this entire journey and watched these games closely. And they know he was highly drafted and they see the flashes and they see the talent. And as a Warriors fan and as somebody who's watched basically every game of Jonathan Kuminga's career close to it, the reality is not as fun as the highs. It's not close.
Do you think he needs to go to like a bad team, like a team that doesn't have like? What I'm saying is
send him to the Raptors. All they want are rangy, athletic wings.
What are you getting back, Grady Dick?
Yeah, Grady Dick. No, I don't think he should actually go to the Raptors. If they added another one of those guys, I'd be pissed. But yeah, I think he's best served in like a spot where he has opportunity to grow. The concern now is he's 4 years deep.
Yeah.
So like this isn't a super young player we're talking about anymore. This is a guy who's about to get his second contract. And what is that second contract going to look like when you're like, okay, there is this upside because of your athletic profile, but there's so many other areas that you still haven't developed. Do we believe that you are a cornerstone, or are you just a guy who has really good stretches? I still lean on the side of the latter. I don't think he's a cornerstone. I don't think he's a future star. But if he ever is going to blossom, it's not going to be with the Warriors. It's not the right spot.
I think Kuminga could be like a really high-impact role player, like an elite role player. I just don't see that star ceiling. Well, I just mean...
That would just have to takes such a level of consistency from him doing the little things, which has been his exact failure as a player up to this point.
My thing is he's still so young. Like, I get that he's 4 years deep
He's
and
young.
He hasn't figured out some of those things, but it's like when you've got these kind of athletic traits, if he can put it together mentally at 80%, you're still getting a really impactful player, I think.
He could have an Aaron Gordon arc where, he ends up going to a team that really gets the best out of him. I guess the frustrating thing is just like he's been in a spot where he's been asked to be a role player from the jump. And I understand that's a difficult adjustment for a young player who's so talented to make, but it shouldn't be an adjustment where in 4 years you see almost no progress.
Yeah, I was originally going to suggest that you send him to a spot like Indiana because I think it'd be fun to see an athlete like that with the passing, but it's like their front court is already so crowded. It's like I do think he needs to go to a spot that just doesn't have, that's just desperate for players and talent. And hey, man, if Kuminga has a couple other good games, so maybe he could potentially raise his stock a little bit and get finally dealt in this offseason.
Well, it's not going to be a deal at this point. He's going to be a free agent.
You got to give him the bag, bro.
No, I don't think they should give him the bag at all, man. We've already been through this.
I know, but that's just so crazy to me that you just let the fourth pick go. You
seventh pick.
Oh, seventh? Damn, I didn't realize Kuminga was that late. I thought he was fourth.
Get ready to learn Scotty Barnes, my friend.
But again, man, you just wasted a first-round pick, bro. Nothing. You actually got nothing out of that.
Bro is literally espousing the sunken cost fallacy to me right now.
You got nothing out of it.
Yeah, tough luck. You messed up the pick and you should have traded him earlier. That's life sometimes. You can't fix it now. You don't dig yourself out of a hole by digging deeper.
I mean, what would you give? What is $1? I can't get that big of a contract. What am I giving, like $10 million a year?
Not even close, dude. He's going to ask for at least $25 million a year.
Who the hell is paying him that?
He wanted the max.
Nobody is giving. Who the hell is giving Kuminga $25 a year, bruh?
Maybe somebody bites on that potential. I wouldn't do it, but maybe somebody out there.
You're joking.
I'm not joking.
You're saying hypothetically someone could sign him to a 4-year, $100 million deal. You think that's feasible for Kuminga?
I'm saying that's certainly what he's expecting. He's not going to come back on basically his rookie contract. He thinks he's a future star, man.
He hasn't done anything.
Well, you and I know that. He doesn't want to hear that. And now he's coming off of a playoff run where he just dropped 30 after he had 18.
Right, Kuminga, go
get
your bread, I guess, man. But I think that's a gross overpay if that's his price.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. At the same time, at $10 million, I would absolutely pay Jonathan Kuminga. I mean, that's worth the risk, but no, that's not the contract. He's going to get a big contract. He's going to get a relatively big contract, or at least that's what he's looking for. So shout out Kuminga, man. Been 2 really, really good games. I just wanted to give my take on what I think some people who aren't closely watching the Warriors might miss in the whole Jonathan Kuminga saga. To the question that you asked, no, I don't think the Warriors are going to push this to game 6, which would be their opportunity to get Steph back. But with how well their defense has played, I can't say that it's not possible. Like, they were right in this game. Obviously, they gave the Timberwolves fits in game 1, and Randall and Ant have adjusted, and I think they've gotten a much better sense of how to attack this defense. But when you got the number 1 defense in basketball for the last third of the season, like, that does translate, and that does give you a floor. I just think the Warriors' offense is really, really limited, and that's where they struggle, and I expect them to continue to struggle. On that note, Logan Camden, is it true that we are going to be back tomorrow night?
I'm chained to my radiator. I will be here tomorrow night.
You don't have any damn say in the matter. You're going to be back here, and we'll talk about Timberwolves Warriors. We'll talk about Knicks Celtics. Both of those game 4s. Cannot wait for them. If you enjoyed this show and you've been enjoying the playoff basketball, well, I hope you continue to enjoy this journey with us. We have been live basically every night of the postseason and will continue to be throughout this second round. So you can find all of our full episodes right here on YouTube. Of course, you can join us live post-game, or you can watch them back after the fact. You can listen to our podcast across all audio platforms, and you can follow us across social, TikTok and Instagram at NerdSesh, and Twitter at @nerd_sesh to see clips from the show, graphics from the show, and all of our good old-fashioned trivia content where we just have a high old time, don't we, Logan?
Mm-hmm.
He's got to say that. He's chained to his radiator, and if he says no, then I press him against the hot radiator.
No, it's really enjoyable. I have a great time.
Thank you very much, Logan.
Please don't do it.
Thank you very much. And that is 10 V-Bucks to you, my friend. That's going to be a new skin.
I'm getting
That's going to be the Peter Griffin.
I'm going to get Winegate Wade.
Hell yeah, buddy. With that, as always, appreciate you guys. I've been Carson Barber.
I've been Logan Camden.
And this was Nerd Sesh.